That's what people start thinking about. This is the one way to do. The other one is some kind of the lithium filling material they try to want to put. Okay, some of the carbon fiber electroplated with the silver particles or something. That is some of example. Graphene or nitrogen doped graphene is the other one. And the graphene carbonitride is also lithium filling layer, which will give you some kind of very friendly to the lithium deposition, which will very suppress the uneven charge distribution, which will give us more even deposition, and the plating and the stripping process is possible. So mostly the lithium filling materials are utilized to realize the homogeneous lithium ion flux, and which can give us a dendritic free morphology. But so however, interface instability related to the volume change is not addressed completely yet. Okay, the last example is our work. Okay, so now we'd like to just like a few minutes, I'd like to make our recent work. So we try to want to regulating the lithium metal interface by using the seed coating layer for high power lithium battery. So we try to want to make a hemp fiber, this is industrial hemp, with a copper foam as a current collector, which will give this nitrogen doped graphene quantum dot coated copper, which will give some kind of the left one side is copper, and I would like to put some seeding layer on there. The bubble jar is typically illustrated for the electrolyte. Once you put the lithiation, we hope to try to lithium is deposited in underneath of this layer, and then direct contact with the lithium and the electrolyte is minimized. Probably we can get the more even plating and stripping process could be possible. So we driven the nitrogen doped quantum dot from hemp fiber, and we coated uniformly on the copper substrate and used as a lithium host anode of the lithium metal battery. Okay, so graphene quantum dot is not a new material. In the display optical materials is a pretty well-known material, very small particles, which can be coming from the carbonization hydrothermal process of the biomass, which will give us a very small dots of the nitrogen doped one. We can get some in the UV light with some kind of a specific illusion, the light color, and which will in the TM using you see the very small size of that, which will typically size of the few nanometer size of the sheets, and the blue light emission possible. So typically size is a 2 to 5 nanometer size of the very well crystallized material. It's typically like a nitrogen was almost 20 weight percent, and the oxygen is 23 the weight percent. The nitrogen oxygen groups are presently abundantly, and which will give us a highly lithium filling nature. So we just put dipping, and then we can get a very well coating on that. This is kind of nicely coating on this one. This coating gives us a very enhanced wettability as well. So easily coating on this. So if we just like a plating and measure the voltage, which will give us a very low potential we can obtain of that. So NGQD coated on copper foam electrode exhibited the highly Coulombic efficiency. This is a highly, the green one is GQD coated one, gives a high Coulombic efficiency was maintained using this matrix cell. Which one you just say, once it's plating and then stripping out. So you can see the what is the percentage of the plating and the stripping percent. 100% means is all the material is plating and then stripped out without any minimize the dead lithium materials in that. And also we can see that that the lower nucleation potential can be observed almost at the 3 millivolt, which was without that 45 millivolt. This is, and then that will be the sign of extended lifetime is expected. So if we see some observation after cycling some few cycles, you can see in the copper form, if we just lithiation, so how lithium has been deposited on the copper form, metallic copper form, you can see in the higher magnification, the very well developed dendritic lithium can be observed here. And then after delithiation, some part of this one has been in dissolution, in gone, but still you can see that some trace of this lithium is observed, which we call this is the dead lithium. We just stripped out 100%, but there are still materials is remained. This one is typically a dead lithium. But in nitrogen doped GQD coated copper form, as you see, plating the lithium, as you can see, no sign of the dendrite lithium has been here. And then after delithiation, you don't see any trace of the dead lithium as well. Although this condition area capacity was 1 milliampere hour. So 1 milliampere for 1 hour deposition, that's the amount of the lithium plating was there. Okay, so as some elementary mapping, you can see the steel and the lithium is here. And then we can see that some cross-sectional image, try to want to see some cross-sectional image. This is a triangle side, inside that this is empty, this is copper. In the surface of the copper, you have the carbon and nitrogen there. So which will probably, lithium is deposited beneath the GQD layers in the SEM observation, but it's not very clear. So that's why we try to want to cross-section the material and to see the in SETEM. As this is a copper substrate, you can see some material here, another material layer here. So if you just take a very closely, this is outer layer, you can see the exactly same one of our previous observation of the GQD. Typically 2 to 5 nanometer size of the dots are distributed here, which is confirmed as this is a nitro-doped GQD layer. And in the bottom, we have a lithium. A source of XPS depth profile gives us a carbon fluorine layer is disappear once you bombardment. And also try to remove the surface, you can see there's some decrease in lithium fluorine and peak. This is why you can just confirm the layers is outer layer. Lithium is plated underneath. That is what we want to get. So using this one is the symmetric cell means it's a two material both using the separator, which will give this like that one. The green, as you like, very low voltage is maintained for a long time, but this is brown and it's going to be higher voltage, which means it's something like a higher resistivity and need a higher voltage. Eventually, some hours later, that will be the dead, doesn't work anymore. So that's why we can see that some even the very high current density, it has worked pretty well even. So we try to want to confirm finally, is it possible to make this material as anode for the full cell? So one of the very well-known full cell material, lithium, the iron phosphate, LFP material was 5 milligrams was in the cathode, and then anode is pre-lithiated copper form on NGQD form was separated by separator with the configuration, which really shows the very well known, very one plateau, the charge discharge curve, which was, you can see as a cycle number, as a C rate. Once your C rate is increased, the bear is coming down here, but the NGQD case is much higher. So in the longer cycle, as you see, much different is very evident. The anode, lithium metal anode with the NGQD layer incorporated is possible. We can see the possibilities. Its practical application is also possible. Okay, so finally, we'd like to see some kind of in situ operando optical microscopy by using these two copper electrodes. One side is GQD layer, the other side is a lithium. Okay, this is copper, so we can put some GQD layer on that, and the lithium deposition is coming in. So this total length is 1 hour actually. We just try to want to make it quicker. As we see some trace of the lines of white, and still the farmost surface is still in black. So uniform lithium deposition in the copper is underneath the lithium nitrogen, and the stripping out in the very high column rate again, 5 milliampere per hour per square centimeter. We try to want to take it out. The lithium is very well, is reversible operation has been observed we can see by this in operando in situ optical microscopy. Okay, so this is some of our work, but there are some summary we can say that, and then but the time is running. I'd like to say total conclusion of for my talk. So I can say that my lessons from last past almost 20 years research in the next generation lithium-ion battery cases. So especially for in designing and the new concept of the electrode, all the time, some of like this nanoscience technology has been all the time very, very helpful and in designing new concept material. So in the topic of your conference is really important to serve some kind of the next generation material. So probably very soon we will see the next generation energy storage system would be possible. Probably you will be the have the major role on that. I hope all of you are involved in. Okay. So this is all I prepared for my talk, and I'd like to thank to my students, postdocs, and the visiting scholars, especially for India. I had many very good, very excellent scholars I have got the last 20 years. So I'd like to thank you, all of you. And then I have supported from KIST EWS and Korea Research Foundations, or some Science Foundation Korean Federation. Thank you for your attention. And if I have any questions, I'd like to please to answer for that. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you very much, Professor Kim. It was a fantastic talk. Thank you very much. So are there any questions from the panelists?
Yeah, there is one question. Dr. Chandramohan.
Oh, yeah,
hello.
please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Professor, for the excellent talk. It was really refreshing listening to your talk. I have a general question. Can you throw some light on the future potential of layered materials in battery technology? Because in your talk, you have covered the potential of graphene quantum dots. I would like to hear the potential of layered materials for battery application.
So probably I assume your layer material might be the nano layer material, 2D material, I think.
Yes,
so,
2D. Yes, 2D
yes.
layer. Yes.
Okay, I would like to very encourage all of you, especially the 2D specialist. So recently we have some result about modification of the solid electrolyte, or so-called all solid battery. This is kind of next generation battery. Still in there is many problems between the solid electrolyte and electrode materials. There are so many problems again. So we have used some molybdenum disulfide 2D material in between that, which will give us a very positive result, which is not very clear, analyzed yet, but it already published is some kind of result. But 2D material has many possibility to try to figure out solve the many critical problems in the, especially interface problems in the battery societies. Yes, you correct.
Oh, thank you very much, Professor.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions?
There is one question in the chat box.
Oh, yes, please.
Can we expect thin film batteries in future? This is
What is it? Oh, okay, chat. Okay.
Yeah, yes.
What is that? I can't see that.
Yes, Professor. The question
Oh,
is,
yeah.
can we
Yeah.
expect thin film batteries in future? That is the question.
You mean the thin film battery?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay. So thin film battery, as you know, this is one of the earlier example of all solid batteries already demonstrated for some portable or some kind of electronics is it. But there are some kind of thing now. But we have, especially in the biological the application, people actually need various different type of and different shape, different geometry, size, scale. There are so many things. But as you know, the thin film battery is only very limited amount of the energy density that's applied. So if we get some kind of higher amount of the thin film, the energy density, which is pretty much is possible. But in that case, maybe does not be limited into the thin film. It's kind of the tiny size of that, even with the thick film technology. The typical layer is a 30 micron or something like that. In that case, you can imagine the nowadays current technology of multi-layer ceramic capacitors, which is really small, that kind of thing. Each layer is just like a few microns, even with a solid. If we can use that kind of the technology, maybe we will get some much higher energy density is possible. But your previous experience in the thin film battery, which will be really crucial in a very good base to develop that directions. That's what I heard about. Maybe it's not announced yet, but all the companies are working very hard on that directions right now.
Okay.
Okay.
So maybe the time is up now. And Professor Kim did a very nice talk. We are very impressed. And please give a big applause to Professor Kim.
Thank you so much for your invitation.
And also, we are looking forward to the next generation energy storage system.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
So. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So maybe we're going to the next speaker, keynote lecture 14. The prominence of phase-dependent bioactive materials towards biomedical application by Professor S. Balakumar, National Center of Nanoscience and Nanotechnology, University of Madras, India. Professor Balakumar?
Yeah, thank you.
Are you ready?
Very good morning. Yeah, can I hear you?
Yeah, of course.
Yes,
No problem.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yes.
So
Thank you.
please
Thank
start
you.
your presentation.
Right. So thank you very much for introducing me in this conversation, and also I thank the organizers for inviting me to give a lecture. My lecture is completely on it's a biomedical application. The topic of is prominence of phase-dependent bioactive materials towards medical applications. The outline of the talk is our primary research interest in this area, and some of our work on bioactive glass and hydroxyapatite, and what are the challenges making that material in crystalline phase, and their role in the mineralization when you use it for tissue generation and take-away messages. So this is the outline of my lecture. So our primary research interest is on materials and materials design. It's basically our lab is concentrating on materials for energy and the environment and biomedical. But the present talk I would only cover on the work on biomaterials that we are fabricating it. In general, we all know that our body is made up of many different materials, and we do have two natural composite in our body. One is the bone, and then another one is the teeth. And what we are doing is basically we are engineering the calcium phosphate based material, and to use as a supporting material or mineralization, to regenerate heart and tissues, and also soft tissues like wound, for wound healing application. And we are fabricating in nano composite form, such as beads, nanofibers, and hydrogel, and scaffold, and sponge and fiber, using different methods, including phase drying and electrospinning and gas forming approaches to make the material in 3D form. And it's the overall our applications is more on dentistry. It's basically a dentin remineralization or capping layer, dental sponges, bioactive memory cartons, and hemostat, and also for scaffold for orthopedic and so on. So overall, you look at it, it's our topic is really fit into this our theme of our Indian science. That is, theme of this year is global science for global well-being. So this is our our primary motto also, to look at what are the challenges we have in material as well as in our healthcare sector, and how do we work with doctors to make some real technology development, the material, and to move towards the product. And this slide it basically shows our work on almost past 10 years. The right side, we have one group of material which is silica matrix based material. You have a bioactive, so-called bioactive glass, and you can substitute different ions. These are our works, and we started with materials engineering and composites, and recently we are developing products. And similarly, the another material is well-known material is actually a hydroxyapatite, that is that inorganic form in the teeth and bone. And when you move to the nano form, there are certain lot of application, but as well as the challenges. We are trying to address some of the challenges, starting from the material and till towards the product. And this is our roadmap. We are started with the material, and we developed certain composites, and recently we are making 3D memory cartridge. So this is these two materials are the major material we are working in our lab. And some of our the recent work, which is we have developed a capping layer for teeth, and another one is bead for multifunctional application, for particularly for to clot the blood for small wounds, and also for a bigger wound we also provide hemostat scaffold, that's basically for dentistry. And also we made a bioactive corneal membrane jointly with Shankar Australia. And also recently our student also fabricated a 3D membrane, a 3D scaffold from a 2D mat using a gas forming technology. This slide shows the snapshots of the technology that we have developed and the material that we have engineered and the 11 publications. So in addition, we also fabricated a material and also developed the material, and also we made a hemostat, which is got a psychiatric hemostat that is jointly with the SRM Dental College. And this is recently we have completed our first human trial, and second human trial is on. So this is actually we are exhibiting to show that how when you work as a material scientist, if you really work on a material for longer time, for to travel with the material for certain time, you can understand and challenges and address some of the challenges in the material. Certainly you can move towards up to the product. So it is one of our low cost and the rapid class and the promising regenerative material. So coming back to the lecture, in the topic of this one. So as we all know, in the bone, both bone and the teeth are having hierarchical nanostructures. In a bone, we know we have two compounds. One is collagen, and another one is your hydroxyapatite. The natural hydroxyapatite is in the form of nanocrystal, the beautiful single crystals, and also whereas it has these nanocrystals is almost has 60% is in our bone, and 25% is type 1 collagen, and another is rest of some of the protein and some of the components are there, 15% water. Whereas this is one of the natural composites. It's a chemically combined. The chemical interaction is there, and another one is the two piece, and we know that it's a very complicated structure where we have seen that different layers with a different calcium phosphate grade layer, but it is 90% it is an hydroxyapatite. 10%, you have a different material at a different level. I mean, the protein and other things are there. But but we know that everyone is come across different challenges, starting from your pain, mineralization, I mean, tooth issues, and then pulp. Can you hear me?
Yes, Professor.
Yeah, right. So and similarly, when you want to move this material for biodegradable, and we have to address certain the challenges in terms of making the material soft, when you have a soft chemical bonding, and also when you want to mineralize this material, obviously we have to get a very strong mechanically strong material, and also the material should be capable of proliferating the cells that are incorporated. So that materials are developed. So which is now we can say you need a bioactive, biodegradable, biocompatible material. But many of the material they have tried to use in amorphous form so that you can easily release the ion. But that yield a lot of challenges in the mechanical stability. That's the reason why we are moving towards controllable crystalline nature or semi-crystalline or beyond certain limits. So it provides a certain sustainable control release of ion from the matrix that certainly provided high mechanical strength. So and here the Professor Larry Hinch is a well-known person who developed this bioglass, and is a father of bioglass. He has taken a silica as a matrix in which he substituted sodium and the calcium as phosphorus pentoxide, different ratios, and he has come out with two different composition, which is one is osteoproductive, which you can compatible with the bone, not only with the bone and also with the soft tissues, whereas your hydroxyapatite is only compatible with the hard tissues. Similarly, there is another class B that also he has developed, but it only can bond with the soft tissue. I mean, it cannot bond with the soft tissue. It is very close to the HCl, HAP, but HCl takes, it takes several days, whereas class A material take only later of 21 days, but hydroxyapatite it's more than 100 days to complete the process. He has systematically studied the phase diagram, and he developed, and it is used this material for Second World War. But subsequently, there are many different compositions are being developed with the different ion substitution, depend upon the requirement, and also people are keep on modifying it based on the challenges in the materials engineering and also and product and their applications. So, but such material, it is not only for dentistry and orthopedic, it is also can use for a corneal membrane, for drug delivery for cataract patients, and also can be used for cancer and such as hyperthermia, osteosarcoma, and bone cancers. Then you can use a magnetic ion to incorporate to come out with a single phase material that also being explored. Such material having a huge market in the industry now. There are two specific compositions, 45% of silica, another one is 53% of silica and phosphate. So, one bit of they have some amount of sodium there, and they also play. But it is the applications are starting as we propose orthopedic and industries, and it's vertically you have a medical and dental cosmetics use. If you look at this, it is a $1 million industry. It's a double-digit million by 2028. It is growing, but there are if you look at the material, still we can say that there is the challenges are there. So that is what we were trying to address in the material. So when you move to the nano form, there are many different morphologies that you are getting that can be used. But in order to improve your antibacterial activity, yeah, sorry, some power cut issue. Yeah. So that's what we have done it. Amlavan, is it visible? Hello? Can you hear me?
No, sir.
Yes, of course, we can hear you.
Yeah, sorry. There's some network connectivity issues.
Yeah.
And then, so even when you make different composites with
Sorry.
different clock sites
You are not sharing the slides, sir.
It's not, yeah. So please share the
sure.
slides.
I'm sorry.
Yes, we can see your slides.
Yeah, I'm extremely sorry. I think there is some network issue here, and I know where is the problem. And when we prepare in a different form and with a different composite, we found that the crystalline nature of the material or the different compounds, the combination of different compounds is the one which give you a major challenges when you use it for application. So the first work I just want to share one is we have in order to address the mechanical issue and also to use this material for dental remineralization, we have substituted the calcium, the strontium in the place of strontium with the different ratios, and we systematically studied the material, and we found that when you incorporate 1 to 5%, that certainly enhances the tension tubule occlusion capacity of the material. And so within 5 days of mineralization, we are able to close this, and we develop a, this a layer on the open teeth where you can, tubules are exposed. When you with the brushing for 3 minutes a day, in a 5 days, you can see the tension tubules are completely closed. This material is qualified, and also we have worked with one of the local Ramchandra Medical College, and we have demonstrated this. When you will improve the crystallinity with the right, it is a francium or high melting point material, it is possible to enhance the mechanical as well as antibacterial properties. But if you look at the challenges in the material, it is when you can make the material stable, and there is a degradation issues there also there. And another issue is in one of the multiple phase formation. It is getting more than one single phase. So that phase control is the one that we have to focus when you want to make this material, when you want to take to the industry scale. So it's that's what we want to look into present this. But we have systematically evaluated what we have done with the different process conditions and different method. We found that these are the different chemical composition that we found, minerals, silicorenanite and renanite and chromite. So the names, you can see the composition. But if you want to have a very good material, which should have a chromite with a certain phosphate content, or you can have a silicorenanite. But when you prepare this material using your silver, you are getting more than one phase. That certainly affect the in the mineralization. When you say the mineralization is the process when you use a inorganic material or composite material, when this material convert into part of the body. For example, you take the scaffold, then you fill it with in your where you have a bone issue with the bone or teeth, that material completely degrade, and ions will be released and will be substituted. There you get a hydrocarbonate layer, which is called HCA layer. So that process is very important. In order to have such a complete process in a very short time, you should have a right material with the right crystalline structure. So that is what you have to address by taking the right material. So we have synthesized the material in a wet chemical method, in a simple lab level. The first study, what we have found that we can see that when you vary the process temperature. When you vary the process temperature with, depend upon the weight class, we can see that you are getting a beautiful morphologies from maybe spherical or hexagonal or rods. And we found that they also have a very good cell compatibility and also hemolysis. But when you look at this, the structure of the material, there are certain changes in that. Some of them are in hexagonal composition, some of them are in chromite nature, some of them are in a silicon with the orthorhombic structure. So that is the one which we have looked into it. So here you can see that these material having more than one phase. That's one. And subsequently, you have morphologies are different, mineralization is different, and biocompatibility is different. So the whole idea is when you synthesize at low temperature, is it possible to have a one single phase? That challenge is still we are getting it, but I'm just showing some more examples. So in order to further improve the surface area and also to further to make the material more active, we actually try to control the morphology by microwave and also probe sonication. That also yield very interesting results when you compare to the previous study and it's highly biocompatible. But whereas if you look at it, you also have the same two different compounds, divitrite and combatite, or silicorenanite combatite. Combat. But these two phases are stable phases which you can use it without issue. But what is the ratio that you require? We found that if the ratio is not affecting much, still you can beautifully you can use it, and the mineralization you can do it within 21 days. And similarly, and also we know that when you prepare slightly bigger compound with many different material, the order of precursor. What is the type of the precursor also makes the material different, because that certainly changes the alkaline nature of the material and pH. That certainly affects the material formation. So here we have used two different sodium. I'm just demonstrating here. One is a different sodium precursor, the sodium hydroxide and the sodium nitrate. So that we have two different results. One once you use the spherical morphology, another one when you increase that, when you use a sodium nitrate, your pH levels are different, supersaturation is different. Then obviously the supersaturation is very high. You can see that lot of spike structure, which is equal to half, but it's mostly we can call them as a tendency growth. When you discuss about the nanostructuring of the material, when you look at the material, the sodium nitrate based one is a less toxic and biocompatible, but whereas it yield, you can see that it has a three different compound in the same material. Would have a combine and a renanite, and also it's another phase of sodium calcium silicate. So so you can reduce the size, but that is also change in the pH that is also yield additional phase that. So there is a difficulty to control these kind of work. Then we also studied change the order of the precursor adding with a different with a different solvent. That is also have a huge impact on that, which have a like you are getting many different particles, largely disturbed spherical particle are. So that should lead, there is a change in the surface area, there is a change in the biocompatibility studies, but all are within the control. But the only thing is how you can tune the knobs to make the materials more compatible. So that we systematically explored it, and with how you can how you can influence the the hardness and the compatibility. We found that when you increase this one with you take a basic water and you add ethanol, then you can add that is also beneficial. Then other way that you prepare it, that especially for when you get the first silica matrix. So that is one of the studies. So, but obviously, if you look at the entire literature, they are talking about the technological issues, but they are not much on the challenges within the material, like the number of phase morphases and their role on the morphology changes and this one. So what we can do is what we can found that sodium was introduced in this material by Heinz. It is basically to control the alkaline nature. So what will happen if you remove the sodium? Do we know the sodium? Because originally in our bone and teeth we don't have a sodium at all. So that is why we just modified it. We have introduced a new set of a composition that we developed on lab without sodium. That is, we call 59% of it. It is not 60. Actually, it is 59% of silica. And we systematically developed a material which this group of materials are mechanically highly stable and biocompatible. Mineralization is also it is still comparable. This material can be used. So that we also studied this one and systematically evaluated the challenges. We found that this in the sodium, you take out the sodium, you can control the matrix, and it is possible to get this one. And it is if you use these kind of modify with the sodium. You take out the sodium and also you play with the other compound. It is possible to use the material or choose the material based upon your interest. Based upon your issues in that industry, we can develop it. So some of the material that we brought it up to the we completed our lab level studies. It is moving to the larger scale production stage now. And similarly, we do work on sort of material for coating as well as for drug delivery application. So again, we also look into another aspect of the material. What is when you take this, you change the composition or you remove one of the sodium, what is happening in the structural level, in the network level? So then the network level, obviously, it is good if it is above 3. We found if it is the network connectivity is a factor which having that you can calculate theoretically. So if it is a 2-1, it is the release of ions are very easy. It is uncontrollable. But if it is 3.1, if it is above 2.5, you can control it. If it is around 3, you can definitely you can have a very good control and you can release it. So if you play around with the network connectivity by using your preparation method or your pH and the environment, you can achieve this network connectivity. So that is what we have also studied with and without calcium, without sodium, and also we have substituted instead of sodium, we increased excess calcium to make the material more compatible, because sodium has, as I said, it is the lot of challenges. Maybe it will be useful for the student that I listed some of them. Sodium introduced highly hygroscopic, and also affects the stability, degradation, mechanical performance. So that certainly affects the change in the pH, which but it has fabulous for hydroxide, but not favorable for some of the applications, but hemostasis. But it is also reducing the cytocompatibility, so producing difficulties when fabricating support. So it is. So that doesn't mean that we need to completely take out the sodium. You can also have some sodium, add other material, but you should have a network connectivity should be around 3, and also you have to take the other control and the phase formation as well as your biocompatibility. So that some trade-off should be there. So that is what we have done in our work. So we also presently we are working on how you can excess calcium, what is the activity on that, or then can we trade off between the calcium phosphate ratio, which should be 1.67. So can we play around, but at the end of the day, you can have it. So that is the two strategies that one working on it. The one of the strategies that we have developed, without sodium, as recently published in ACS Biomaterial, and then another way, another material that we are working on is sodium calcium silicate. Is completely you fabricate a single phase combine without phosphate. Then you can add 5% of phosphate. Just with we varied with the phosphate content, and we managed to get a single phase combine covered with certain amount of phosphate. That is one of the best material, equal to what Hench developed earlier using a combustion method. So that is what we are working on it, and we also got a very good interesting results on this study. And right now we are evaluating the in vitro and in vivo studies for animal studies. Once we complete this material and this work, recently, I mean, we are filing patent, and also the basics will be published in Nature Materials. So that is what we are talking about, the prominence of phosphate in combine phases, which is higher mineralization, early epithelial layer transition, and increased mechanical strength. So that's what, and in addition to that, we are also varying the other composition, but we are trying to understand the crystalline crystalline nature of the material, and we are working with one of our Taiwanese collaborator to work with the NMR to get the complete structural studies. So this is our basic work on this. I'm just skipping some of the slides because we have a list time. And using this material, we also made with the graphene hydrogen composite for wound healing application. So that is one of the very good material that we have recently published in a Nature Scientific report. And in addition to that, we also this material has because this composite has a high cell viability and good cell proliferation and cell migration, can be used for its diabetic wound healing application. Similarly, the material developed bioglass in our lab, we also combined with hydrogen. We made this anti-inflammatory and also for diabetic wound application. This is recently accepted in Journal of Biomaterial Sciences in RSC, and we also demonstrated how this the wound closures occurs in which is the help of faculty in the Savita Tental. They have created your scratches on the cell line, and we show that how the wound closure. We found that our material works very well, and the wound closure is very fast. In 72 hours, the wound is closed completely. So that we evidently demonstrated, and along with all the other biocompatible properties. That is also recently published in Journal of Biomaterial Science. So in addition, we also developed a we changed the calcium phosphate ratios, and we developed a new composite, clinophosphate. That is it's a good material for a drug delivery. So this is the advantage of single phase material. It can be used for specific application. Such similar material we also combined with the polymer PMMA, and we made it's a scaffold. It can be used for as a filler material with bone, which is being evaluated in animal studies. This is one of the work recently done by our PhD student, and the results will be published soon. So similarly, so another work what we have done is also with the bioactive glass with calcium fluoride. So we have, always fluoride content is necessary. So that one we developed this material with the different fluorine content, and also we work with the doctors and to polish some of the tooths, some of the teeth, and then we developed this material with the different morphologies, and we looked at mineralization studies, and also use this material for how the natural dentin remineralization occurs. So this is the process that we have. When you have a dental caries, we demineralize the dentin, you open the teeth, and also then when we combine with the attach the pellet on that, then we looked at and then we soaked it for our previous solution, and also we look at the remineralization studies. We found that the remineralization
我那个简报资料报上。
资本。
How much time we have, sir?
Yeah, 6 minutes, Professor.
Yeah. Thank you. So I just want to have another work that we have done on hydroxyapatite. So the hydroxyapatite also we have similarly, it's one of the well-known materials. It is being used, but it is also have a lot of challenges. And what we have done is, so far people work on only one of the phases of hydroxyapatite, which is nothing but hexagonal system. There is another version of the hydroxyapatite, is a monotite phase that you have to prepare with different pH that we have developed in our lab with a different crystal morphology, and also we normally when we take a system in our lab to understand the material on the crystalline nature, we also develop, we take one chemistry and we look at the different morphology first, and then from there we work on it. Such work was done on monotite. We vary the process conditions, and we are trying to increase the surface area. We are drastically significantly increase the surface area, and we found that this is when you use this material for dental remineralization and also for drug delivery or drug loading, this material have a lot of potential compared to your hexagonal hydroxyapatite. That's what we have recently proved it. And also we showed with the different morphologies and how you can, the formation, the structure that we have studied. Similarly, we using this material, using this monotite, then we combine with one of the polymer, we made an electrospinning mat. From the electrospinning mat, then we fabricated using a gas forming technology. We can make a 3D memory cotton. That is one of the, it's a very interesting and innovative work done one of our PhD students. And this can be used as where you can fabricate, even it is in 1 feet size, so far we have fabricated. That can be used for any accidental place to use as a hemostatic, to absorb the blood and you clot the blood. So that is what we filed a patent on this, and also we have demonstrated that how it can be cell growth can occur. And that is so with the help of Savita, the dental college, we have also shown that there's how
Login ID one.
Yeah, and how the material, our monetized is distributed is there in the 3D structure, and how you can how this material can make it hydrophilic or hydrophobic. That is all we have demonstrated it. The similar material, we also the same materials, we also systematically we can look at the material, the crystalline nature, and also the the crystal structure formation and the facets. So that is also we have a study to understand more on the material that will be published in ACS Biomaterials soon. So the same material we have taken, and also we made an electrospinning mat, large size mat, and we yeah. So
Professor, time is up, Professor.
yeah, this is the last slide. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have to carefully engineer the material to understand the structure, and then the phase formation, the ratio of the phase formation, and their impact on the property. So we have that. For that, we have to obviously focus on the process condition that defines the architecture, that only refines the morphology and application of the material. And with this, I thank my students and my group, and the presently working with me. And this is not my work, and of course these are the entire team. And I thank my students and postdocs and who did this work. And also I thank the organizer for giving me this opportunity. And thank you very much. And if there is any question, I'll be happy to answer.
Yeah, thank you very much, Professor Balakumar. We are so sorry about the network. And so are there any questions? Actually, we have already one question from Q&A. So I'm going to read what are the major challenges facing in the specialty denture basis?
No, the denture base, first you have to, any material that you take, basically, that's why this is a very generic question. So you have to look at the metal ions in it. So some of the metal ion that will, it is certainly, it will change the alkaline nature of the material. So then when you have a more sodium in the material, then you have a lot of inflammation and leaching because of the leaching. So that's what you have to take care. So when you the doctor, when you buy it, they have to look at what is the actual metal ions are there. So the dentistry is, they have to focus more on the material that they are using it, because we have only one material right now that has a high flux appetite. Another one is bioactive glass. Bioactive glass has a lot of challenges, but there's still room to improve. So that's my answer to the question.
Thank you. So are there any questions?
Yes, yes, yes.
Also, please.
Okay, if there's a question, maybe you can choose the question.
Yeah, actually, I found someone raise a hand. So if you have any questions, please raise a hand again. Could you allow him to talk?
Yeah, it seems there are no raise hand again, Professor.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I don't see.
Oh, okay. So,
Yeah.
So maybe the time is up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much, Professor Balakma. It was a very impressive, nice talk.
Thank you, thank you. I'm sorry
Yeah.
for that some internet issues, and then thank you very much once again.
Yeah, thank you very much. So maybe we like to give a big applause. Thank you very much. Okay. So now the session is over, and we're going to the next session. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor Kimura.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor Balakumar.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
现在还没开始吧？这个要转吗？
Good morning, Professor Edward.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We hear you, sir. We are starting the session soon. Dr. Radhamani?
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us at this conference. It's my pleasure to introduce Professor Malar as the chairperson for this session. So she is expert in the field of photovoltaic energy storage. And her research interests include ball mill synthesis of ternary quaternary compounds for energy applications, solar absorber thin films, templated assisted growth for surface patterning, protective coatings, and so on. And she has more than 60 publications and 66 patents in her credit. So with this brief introduction, I welcome Professor Malar to chair the session.
Thank you, Dr. Radhamani. Good morning, everyone. Now we are going to have the keynote lecture 15 of ICONN 2023 by Professor Edward E. Chang. Professor Edward is from National Yang Ming Chiao Tong University, Taiwan, and his research interests include 3-5 semiconductor and silicon integration for post-CMOS applications, 3-5 sub-millimeter wave high-frequency device applications and packaging, research and development for gallium nitride on silicon high-power device epitaxy and processing, and research and development for gallium nitride high-frequency device epitaxy and processing, And his awards and achievements include Outstanding Electrical Engineer Award by Chinese Institute of Electrical Engineering in the year 2008, and Outstanding Research Award by National Science Council in the year 2009 and 2013. He is also IEEE Life Fellow. So with this brief introduction, I invite Professor Edward E. Chang to deliver a talk in my keynote lecture, High Performance E-Mode Gallium Nitride Metal Insulator Semiconductor High Electron Mobility Transistor for Energy Saving Power Switching Applications. Professor?
Yes. Okay.
You may kindly start your
Okay.
lecture.
Yes. Okay. Thanks for the introduction. I'm Edo Chen. I'm right now with the International School of Semiconductor Technology in National Yangming Jiaotong University, Taiwan. So my talk today will be a high-performance EMO gallium nitride mixed-hem or energy-saving power switching applications. So the material and device is gallium nitride based, and the application is for the energy. So by outline will include first introduction of the gallium nitride material and how the material is grown, and then for this material is for power electronic applications. So talk about why we talk about EMO devices. So the motivation includes advantage of EMO gallium nitride power devices, and then how we can achieve EMO really high voltage for EV applications. So we use ferroelectric. So that's what I introduce how we incorporate material into the device to make the threshold voltage really high, so it can be used for electric vehicles. And then we give the results, okay, for this kind of we call the ferroelectric charge trap gas stack technology, and for this kind of a gallium nitride devices. And so I introduced the performance of the devices after incorporation of the ferroelectric materials. And then we use a thin barrier gallium nitride devices for this kind of a gas FEG hem for EMO application. So this one will further enhance the performance of the EMO device. And then I'll give a brief introduction of the applications and then the conclusions. Okay, first, we go through the gallium nitride devices. Okay, and gallium nitride devices actually can be used for different power range. Okay, from low voltage to high voltage. And right now, we have developed technology up to 1500 volt. Okay, for this kind of devices. And for low voltage devices, you can do a lot of commercial applications. And for medium voltage, you can use for like air conditioner, power supply, and communication power supply. And for high voltage, you can use for some EV applications. Okay. So this is the gallium nitride structures. Okay. Basically, it's a wood-side structure. And the beauty of that is that the band gap is quite high. It's around 3.4 volt. Okay, so that enables it to give very high breakdown voltage for EV applications. And this is the electrical properties of the gallium nitride material. As you can see, that I have explained the energy band gap is quite high. And then another feature is that the electron mobility is also quite high. It's around 2000 volt, centimeter per volt per second. So that will enable you to be used for very high frequencies, and also to reduce the on resistance for power applications. And so those are the features of this material. So gallium nitride material are suitable for high power and high frequency applications based on the features I just described. Okay, and first I'd like to give us some idea about the material. Okay, usually most of the semiconductor we know, like in silicon, we need dopant so that we can have electrons. But for the gallium nitride, you don't need dopant. Okay, and besides, the gallium nitride have polarizations in the material. Okay, so this polarization and also the heterostructure, which we are going to introduce with a piezoelectric that will give you high electrons in the materials. So in the right-hand side, you can see the gallium nitride when you use gas phase structures. It's a U-size structure with no symmetric hexagonal structures. And they have electronegativity, nitrogen much higher than gallium. So by nature, if it's a gallium phase, you have an electric field due to the electronegativity difference between the material. So so this kind of polarization, the material by itself form a polarization. And okay, and other than that, okay, we have explained the material does not need any dopant. Then where is the electrons come from? Actually come from the donor state on the surface. So the surface state give you the electrons. And then if you put two materials together, aluminum gallium nitride and gallium nitride, because the lattice constant is different. So when they put together, they have a stress, okay, in the material itself. So this kind of stress will cause piezoelectric effect, which will induce another piezoelectric polarization in the material. So overall, the material have substrates which give electrons, and they have a self-polarization and also have a piezoelectric polarization. These two add up give you an electric field that will drift the electrons into the 2EG quantum wave area, okay, which we'll explain next few graph. Oh. Okay, yeah. So because these two material, the band gap is different. Okay. Okay, so okay, next one. So the gallium nitride material had a wide band gap, so it have high breakdown voltage, high temperature, and it can operate at very high temperature. And then they have high mobility, and which results in very high current, and also high carrier give you a low on resistance, and also high mobility give you the high frequency operation. And also no dopant is required, as I explained, okay? So they can give you a speed on resistance very low as we compare to the other material used for power electronics, like silicon IGBT and silicon carbide, okay? And this view graph show you that how the electron is drift to the quantum wave. That explain how the quantum wave formed. You have a high bandgap material and low bandgap material. They grow as epitaxial layers, and then because the band discontinuity, the Fermi level must be the same on both material. So the band discontinuity form a quantum wave at the interface. So just like we said, the electric field from polarization can drift the electron toward the 2D material, quantum wave material. So for this kind of a spatial design, the interface of aluminum gallium nitride can form a quantum wave. An electron can be drifted by the electric field due to polarization into this quantum wave. And then they form two-dimensional electron gas in the interface. So for this two-dimensional electron gas, there's no dopant in the channel. So they have high electron mobility because no dopant, no scattering. And also they have high carrier concentration at the interface. So this is a cross-section of the three gallium nitride HEMT. So you can see from the bottom to the top, you have silicon. For this talk, the material is grow on silicon. So on silicon, we grow nucleation layer, and we grow gallium nitride on top of that. Okay, because this will reduce your cost. Okay, and this is kind of difficult in the past, but right now it's possible to grow this kind of structures using MOCVD. Okay, and on top of that, you have a gallium nitride, and you have aluminum gallium nitride as a Schottky layer, and on top of that, we have source and drain, okay, and gate, okay. And the material is grown by MOCVD. All the device we present in this talk is grown by MOCVD. So we use the Vico Propel MOCVD, and this equipment could grow 2 to 8 inch substrate. Okay, and they have an institute monitor system to make sure the temperature, the stress, and thickness and growth rate is under control. Okay, next. And this is the gallium nitride grow on silicon. Okay, so we can see on the left is very shiny. The gallium nitride use MOCVD to grow on the silicon, and you have to control the way of growth. And then on the right-hand side is gallium nitride grow on silicon carbide, use the same machine. And this gallium nitride on silicon carbide is much easier to grow because they are lattice match. Okay. And when we grow this, we have to control the wafer ball because gallium nitride and silicon have a very large lattice mismatch. So when you grow, there's a lot of stress, okay, forming in the epitaxial layers. So you have to control the stress so they can get the very without the good film, without a crack. And then you have to make sure your device can have a good electrical transport properties, and usually these kind of device have a 1500 to 2000 centimeter square per volt second, depends on the epitaxials. And then you have to make sure the breakdown voltage is high, okay, and usually we measure the lateral breakdown voltage. Usually for device application, it had to be higher than 900 volt, and for vertical breakdown voltage, it had to be about 600 volt, so you can use for device applications. And this is a structure that we usually use for this kind of a GaN on silicon. So we have to make sure there's very small stress. You can grow material with good electrical properties without crack. Okay, so usually we have silicon and we have super lattice or multi-layer aluminum gallium nitride. Okay, as a buffer, and on top of that we grow gallium nitride. Okay, and on top of that that's a low band gap material. Then we grow aluminum gallium nitride on top of that as a Schottky layer with a high band gap. Okay, and so during the growth you have to control the stress. Okay, and so also we have to minimize the particle generation because this kind of power device, the size is very big. So if you have particle that will affect your breakdown voltage, okay, and also you need to have a good thickness and the composition uniformity. Okay, usually they can be controlled in 2% and 1% respectively. Okay, and one key issue for the high power electronics is you have to have a high breakdown voltage. So how can you increase the electric field and have a high breakdown voltage? So usually you can do thick epitaxial layers, or you can use air gas buffer or double heteroscopy transistor field effect transistor structures. Because aluminum gallium nitride have high band gap, so it can stand higher electric field. And then you use carbon doped galvanized buffer to trap electrons or ion doped. Okay, both can work. And then you use superlattice buffer to reduce the leakage. Okay, so overall, we need high breakdown voltage and high drive currents for these kind of high power applications. And then to reduce the power loss, okay, we need to have low on resistance and low gate charge. Okay, so low on resistance will reduce your power consumption, and low gate charge will increase your switching speed. And overall, you have to make in large volume in silicon so they can have low cost, and then we want to have the size as small as possible. So for this kind of ideal power electronics, okay, we need high band gap, we have 2 DG formation, and we don't have carbon, we don't need dopant, and we have to grow large area silicon. Right now, industry standard is 6-inch and is moving to 8-inch. And the device have the advantage of high breakdown voltage, high current, and low R-on. And also they have very fast switching speed, okay, because power density high. So and also gate charge is small, so the capacitance of the device is low. So overall, this device have small size, high efficiency, so it's very suitable for power electronics applications. And this is basically the device structures as we explained earlier. So is have a silicon substrate and buffer layer, gate nitride channel, and air gas channel. And between gas and air gas, there's 2 DEC. And usually you can see the IV curve. There's a peak, and the peak represent at which it represent where is the channel is. Okay, so this device have a high carrier concentration and high electron mobility, but without any special design, this device is mostly D-mode operation. Okay, that means you have to apply a negative voltage, VTH. Okay, threshold voltage is negative to turn it off. Okay. And we introduce this kind of process briefly. Okay, this you need ohmic contact. Okay, use a titanium, aluminum, nickel, gold, and you have to define activity by agent, and then you use silicon nitride by PCVD to do the patchation, and you have to do get agent to recess. Okay, to make sure the air gain can be slightly recessed. And then you have dielectric layer depollution for ohmic for passivation, and then you use LD to make the get dielectric for mishem, and then you use RTA for metal formation, metal contact formation, and you have get metal is usually using gold. Okay. And so next one is just show one aspect, how you improve the breakdown voltage. And one way is use superlattice, okay? And when device is under operation, the electron, if they want to penetrate this the superlattice, there's a energy barrier, okay, that will hinder them from moving very straightforward to from top to the bottom. So by this way, you can increase the breakdown voltage by forming this kind of superlattice. You have many barriers for electron to penetrate. And then you can use dopant in the material. You can use carbon dope or you can use iron dope. And this dope will trap your electrons, so they will not leakage to your substrate. Okay, in that way, you can also increase your breakdown voltage. And then you can use so-called field plate. Okay, that means you can do electric source connected or gate connected field plate, which will reduce your electric field, the peak of your electric field within the material when you apply a high voltage on the drain. Okay, and in this way, because the peak of the electric field in the material is reduced. So you can have a low electric field in the material, so you can apply high voltage to it. So you can use for higher power, high breakdown. You can apply high voltage, and then due to this design, you can have high breakdown for these devices. Okay, so now let's introduce the EMO devices. Okay, I have explained. Next, for the power device for the electric vehicle application, this kind of power electronics can be used for many applications, from your air conditioner, refrigerators. But right now, people are aiming at EV because EV is a hot topic everywhere, including in India. Okay, so for the low end EV, probably China, India will be dominating in the world in the future. So it is also very important for India. So to requirement for this kind of power device for EV application is, first you need very high current, and then you need the high breakdown voltage, and then you need the low gate leakage, and then you need low R-on, because R-on determine your power consumptions, and you have to have a fast switching time. So you also need a low switching loss. Okay, so breakdown usually gallium nitride is easily achieved 600, but right now we are talking about more than 1500. Okay, and then on resistance is low because gallium nitride have these free carriers in the 2DEC, which make the alert carrier, so make the contact release very low. So it have very low power consumption during operation. And dynamic on resistance is also a key issue. Okay, because that means during the high voltage operation for a long time, your resistance still have to maintain low without the increasing. Okay, and then it have to be a nobody off because your VTH have to be high, because this kind of device during operation, you have to turn it on. But when you are not operating, you want the device to be idle without any current. Okay, because that is a safety concern. Okay, if your device have to have a circuit, okay, to give a negative voltage to turn it off, then there's a risk. If this complementary circuit fail, then the device will not stop. They will keep going. So that will be a major disaster for this kind of for the EVs. Okay, and this just give you the idea what is depletion mode, what is enhanced mode. The depletion mode is that the device need to apply a voltage to turn it off. Okay, even at zero apply voltage, there's still current. And the enhanced mode is at zero voltage is no current, and unless you apply a voltage to it. So we need the VTH to be as high as possible, or usually we require like a 2.5 to 3 volt. Okay, for the device to, when it's idle, you need to apply 2.5 to 3 volt. Okay, to turn it on. So that's why we put VTH at 2.5 at least. So for this kind of EMO device, the circuit is more simple because you don't need a complementary circuit to turn it on. And then it's no power consumption because when you not work on it, it's not function, there's no current, so no power consumption, and it's safe. Okay, as I explained. Okay, so for this kind of gallium nitride device, I already explained what is needed. High threshold voltage is the must, and then you need high current, low R-on, high breakdown, and also leakage. Gate leakage must be low, and then the reliability must be good enough. Okay, so this is just show you why VTH have to be positive. This just give you, if you have a noise, a surge in your supply voltage, then as you can see in the structure, in the figure, if there's a surge in the signal, then the car will be turned on. Okay, but if your VTH is higher than the surge, the surge voltage, then the car will be quite safe to operate. So usually we define that voltage around 2.5 volt. Okay, and there's quite a few ways to do this kind of EMO device. First is do the recess. Okay, recess to recess the aluminum nitride. So the turn on voltage will become positive. But this one give you, even though we give you the VTH is positive, but current is too low. And then people use P gate because P junction would, the building potential would turn the channel off. But that one, the P junction, the building potential is too low, so you cannot get a high enough voltage to turn it on. And some people use fluorine, okay, propose fluorine, but it's not stable, okay, because it's negative charge, which is stuck in the lattice, and so that it can turn negative electric can turn the voltage charge device off. But that one, because fluorine is not so stable, okay, so there's a risk, okay, the device still can fail. And so we propose the so-called ferroelectric gate HEMT, okay. In this way, the first one is conventional gate recess, okay, on the left, the current is not high enough. And then you can put some non-ferroelectric material with charge on it, negative charge on it, but then the charge is not high enough, okay, to get a high VTH. The best way is the one we propose, use ferroelectric material along with the charge trapping layers, okay, beneath it. And then in this way, the charge trapping layer, okay, you can have electron over there, which is negative. And then you have ferroelectric because the charge trapping layer is negative. So your correlation will be toward the downward, okay, point downward. So in this way, the ferroelectric can induce an electric field that is opposite to the voltage you applied. And in that way, you have to apply even higher voltage to turn it on. So you can get very high VTH, okay? So ferroelectric can induce more electron into the charge trapping layer, okay? So you can have very high VTH by this arrangement. And for this kind of ferroelectric materials, okay, we can see the gate direct potential barrier, and you can see that potential barrier for ferroelectric gate, the one we design is higher than fluorine base and higher than aluminum oxide. So this one means that the ferroelectric gate we designed have the high VTH than other approach. So this is ferroelectric. What is the material? It's mostly used hafnium oxide and decoding oxide mixed, okay? And this is not new, okay, because this material is used in memory. So it's compatible with the silicon CMOS application and is very highly scalable ferroelectric as we learned in the past. And then this one, when the hafnium oxide completion 0.5 is 50%, and you can see very high correlation, okay? If you have 8 nanometer, the correlation is 21 micron coulomb per centimeter square. And this kind of material needs crystal, okay, structures. And this hafnium decoding oxide originally when deposited is amorphous, and then they can transform to also phobic phase after 400-degree annealing. So this is a crystalline structure of hafnium decoding oxide after annealing, and they show that the also phobic structure appearing after annealing. Okay. And it's not so straightforward. Okay, in our design we use hafnium aluminum oxide, hafnium decoding oxide all together, okay, as a superlattice to make it work, because we need the strength to form this kind of ferroelectric material structures, and we need the designer crystal sizes, okay, because if the half-free nickel oxide is between two aluminum oxide, then their crystal size could be bigger. Okay, and then also we need to control the stress. Okay, and other than that, the aluminum oxide insertion also reduce the leakage current. So there's many advantages of using this in tube lattice, and also for the charging trapping layer, we use harmonic oxygen nitride because it did have a higher charge storing capability. Yeah. So this is actually the laminated ferroelectric gas stack and laminated with the aluminum oxide interlayers. Okay. So aluminum oxide layer, this kind of super lattice, because the insertion of the aluminum oxide is interlayer, it has high population, and the grain size, just like I said, can be controlled, okay, to a larger size. And then the breakdown field can be increased due to the aluminum oxide can reduce the leakage current. And also the charge trapping layer, we use half-free oxygen nitride because that will have large electron concentration compared to half-free oxide. And then this leakage, this just showing that the leakage is really reduced using this kind of laminated structures. So aluminum oxide interlayer incorporation, you can see that reduce the leakage current and have high breakdown voltage. Okay. And this kind of device need to initiation. Okay, so you apply 6 volt and for less than 1 millisecond, then you initiate the process by introduce charge into the charge trapping layers, and then your operation start to happen. Okay. And so this is the after initiation. You have large electron in the charge trapping layer, and your polarization start to form. Okay, and that will give you the electric field that is against the voltage you apply to it. Next. So the initiation process is 12 volt and for 1 millisecond, and then the larger shift over VTH up to 4.4 volt have been observed. Okay, and so this IV characteristic of the ferroelectric gate materials, and it shows that in this case, that shows that the VTH is higher than 2.7 volt, which is more than what we require, 2.5 volt, and the RO is 11.1 ohm millimeter, and the breakdown volt is around 820 volt, and the threshold hysteresis is very slow, it's only 0.14 volt. Okay, that means the interface of the layers have very small electrons, okay, trapping in the interface. And one of the concern is that how reliable is this? Okay, so this showing the flex tube view graph showing the characteristics of the leakage and reliability of these devices. Okay, the gate leakage at 12 volt of the ferroelectric for the transistor, okay, is still lower than 10⁻⁴ milliamp per millimeter, even at 150 degrees C. And slightly low breakdown voltage of the ferroelectric gate is attributed to the polycrystalline nature of the half-free nickel oxide films. And also the VGS threshold stability of the ferroelectric and non-ferroelectric devices. The ferroelectric device exhibit better VGS stability, okay, because the number of unfilled trapping states were much less in ferroelectric device after initiation due to the strong ferroelectric population and the internal ferroelectric induced by ferroelectric called smooth slope over the conduction band in the ferroelectric gate stack. So this IV characteristics over the 120 millimeter device, it had a VTH of 4.7 volt and output current is like 40, larger than 40 N, and RO is only 0.18 ohm. Okay, next to further increase, okay, to further increase the performance of device, okay, we use a air gain thin layer and first, and then we grow the we grow federation on top of it. So in this way, we can control the recess. We don't need to do the recess, okay? So in this way, we have known etching damages, and the barrier thickness is well controlled because you don't have to etch them. And also the interface is good and more uniform VTH because the thickness is reproducible, okay? So this is the one we show you can actually we use different dilation to do the misham. We have PCVD, PLD, and MOCVD, and we have shown that a small MOCVD, okay, film, illumination film, give you the best result with less hysteresis, okay. So this is the comparison of this kind of different layers, misham layers. So we can see that with the aluminum nitride, MOCVD aluminum nitride, they give the higher current, probably relief of the surface state is best, and our own is lowest, okay, 7.2. So MOCVD aluminum nitride demonstrates 30% increase in out current and 27% decrease in ohm resistance. Okay, and then we can see that the high performance quality of this kind of nitride passivation is demonstrated in this view graph. Okay, the surface potential is reduced using this kind of passivation layer, and then rebound induced trapping is mitigated because you don't see much hysteresis. So the high current density can be restored. Okay, use this kind of aluminum nitride passivation layers. And then, okay, this is thin barrier layer. So using this kind of thin barrier layer, and we again construct the whole device with this kind of super lattice, half linear chlorine oxide super lattice. Okay, and we can see that this kind of mobility is around 1500 centimeters square per volt per second, and charge is around 1.5, and sheet resistance is around 260 ohm per square. Okay, so this is, and then after the device is fabricated on this kind of epitaxial layer, you can see that the VTH have shifted. Okay, to yes. Okay, you can see the VTH is shifted. Okay, around to around positive 2.64, and all the others is remain in the good data. Okay, so this is
Professor, you have few more minutes.
how much time I have left?
3 minutes.
3 minutes?
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Okay, so so maybe I show the reliability. Okay, this is just show the reliability. Okay, you can use for a long time. If you use gate for 13 to 14 volt, it can last for 10 years. So even with this ferroelectric new material, the device is quite reliable actually. Okay, and we have, and these kind of devices are very important in many applications. So we can actually have many applications. So I just show two of the important applications for this kind of high VTH stuff. Okay, so this is the overall. You can use this GaN nitride for fast charger, for PV, for EV, and for LiDAR applications. Okay, and so this in the EV, we need many of this kind of inverter converter using GaN nitride. Okay, next one. And two important applications is EV. Okay, because gate source voltage for this kind of device, okay, need to be very stable. Okay, and if you have voltage glitch, can exceed VTH, the cause force trigger and results in shoot through of the fault. Okay, and then it will be a catastrophic failure for the car. Okay, that's one example. And next example is PV. Okay, solar cell. The micro inverter for grid tie applications, voltage source, okay, you need to be very stable. And if there's a glitch in the voltage, then will result in shoot-through failure. Okay, so these two are the very practical and important application for the technology I just presented without much effort for complementary circuit, and it's very simple. Okay, and also some other application for the gallium nitride is like the wireless charger or the charger for the car. Okay, so those are all using, right? But the important thing, and also for LiDAR for the car. So I come to the conclusion, we propose a new concept of opportunity high voltage with high voltage and high current, okay, using ferroelectric material, and you don't need recess on the gate. And due to the strong ferroelectric correlation, the device have very high voltage, and this device quite stable, okay, and also temperature very stable under high temperature. And then we think, okay, we further improve the device performance by use MOCVD aluminum nitride ferroelectric to make it a MIS-HAM. And this developed technology is especially good for EV and solar cell applications. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor, for a very nice talk on gallium nitride high electron mobility transistors and its applications. The session is now open for questions. Anyone who wants to interact with Professor may raise your hand, or alternatively, you can post your questions in the chat box.
Ma'am, two participants, they have raised their hand.
Yes,
Naveen
we
Kumar
can.
and Chandra.
Yes, we can allow them.
Yeah, Naveen Kumar. Naveen Kumar, you may ask your questions. Please unmute yourself.
Naveen Kumar, please unmute. Or Dr. Chandramohan, you may unmute. And
Yeah, hello.
yes.
Yeah, thank you, Professor, for your detailed talk on this topic of aluminum gallium-nitride two-dimensional electron gas. I have a couple of questions. My question is carbon doping of gallium nitride of two-dimensional electron gas and a universal method?
I cannot hear your question very clear. Yeah.
No. My question is about the carbon doping of gallium nitride. To my understanding, carbon contamination is a concern while we deal with MOCVD. So my question is, the carbon doping of gallium nitride is a universal method?
Yeah, it's a universal method. Actually, many companies using carbon doping. Yeah, there's no problem at all. Yeah.
I see. So there is no carbon contamination during the subsequent growth of aluminum gallium nitride? No.
If you control really well. And then one of the things you can do is if you use carbon doping, because it's in buffer layer, right? So yes. you can stop the doping for some time and keep on growing gallium nitride buffer. And after that, you grow aluminum gallium on top. So there's a barrier, okay, some distance without doping between the buffer layer and the channel layer. So just you doping sometime, and before you grow that in the buffer layer, you just stop some at some distance without doping in the buffer layer. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Naveen Kumar.
Hello.
Yes, you are audible. Please interact.
Sir, what is the difference between the atomic layer depositions and the metal organic chemical depositions method?
Can you be a bit clear? What is the
difference between the atomic layer deposition and the metal organic chemical depositions method? So are using the deposition methods in different deposition methods, metal organ chemical vapor deposition and atomic layer deposition method. What is the difference between these two?
Professor, you could hear the question.
No, not actually. He's
asking the difference between ALD and MOCVD.
Oh, okay. ALD is growing just one layer at a time, so very slow.
Yeah.
MOCVD is high flux, so they can grow very fast. So ALD is only in certain application. Okay, usually if you want to grow the bulk material or the whole structure, you have to use MOCVD. Yeah, it's only for some interface area. Okay, you use ALD. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Naveen, and thank you, Dr. Chandramohan. And if there are no questions, let me thank Professor Edward Lee Chan for delivering a wonderful talk in this ICONN 2023. We thank you very much, sir, on behalf of the organizing committee for your talk and time. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. It's my honor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I request the participants to join the parallel session, which is starting immediately. So you may join the respective parallel sessions. Thank you all. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Radhamani.
Yes. Yeah, thank you, Professor Edward, and thank you, Professor Ma'am.
Thank you.
Ma'am, for chairing the session. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.